Okay, now we have a moment to explore the Normandy. Get a bunch of codex entries. I know that there's at least one of these. Or maybe that's Mass Effect 2. Damn it. Hello? I can't talk to Presley. And now, for the most important thing in any BioWare game, catching up with our companions. What the hell?
This isn't a station. It's a city.
There must be millions here. It can't be possible to track everyone coming and going.
Aiden, what are you doing? Okay, I think that was a continuation of that thing that bugged out.
Anything you need, Commander?
Let's try this again.
Just trying to get a sense of where the crew's at. Thoughts?
I've wasted enough of your time for now, Commander. We'll have time for personal debriefings later.
What are you talking about? This is the first time we've talked.
We'll talk another time, Lieutenant.
Commander?
Okay, now, quick thing back here. This area back here is completely pointless. The only thing back here is that Sleeper Pod Codex. I have no idea why there's all this space devoted to nothing. One of those. Yeah, you can hit that up, I think, every time you come in.
Yes, Commander? Is there something you need?
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
Looks like she doesn't have anything for us. Back here. No. And now, for the elevator I dread the most. Like, seriously, why couldn't this just be a flight of stairs? I'll be cutting that out from now on. I just wanted you to suffer through it at least once.
Nice ship you've got, Shepard. What can I do for you?
What's your story, Rex?
There's no story. Go ask the Quarian if you want stories.
You Krogan lived for centuries. Don't tell me you haven't had a few interesting adventures.
Well, there was this one time the Turians almost wiped out our entire race. That was fun.
They tried the same with us, but we fought them off.
It's not the same.
It seems pretty much the same to me.
So your people were infected with a genetic mutation?
It's super not the same.
An infection that makes only a few in 1,000 children survive birth? And I suppose it's destroying your entire species?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
I suppose it isn't all the same.
I don't expect you to understand, but don't compare humanity's fate with the Krogan.
I was just making conversation. I wasn't trying to upset you.
Your ignorance doesn't upset me, Shepard. As for the Krogan, I gave up on them long ago. The genophage infected us, but it's not what's killing us.
Yeah, when he says only like 1 in a few thousand, the Krogan literally have a successful birth rate of about 1%. It's pretty horrific.
What can you tell me about the genophage?
Ask the Solarians if you want details. They made it. All I know, it makes breeding nearly impossible. Thousands die in stillbirth, and most never get that far. Every Krogan is infected, every one. And no one's rushing to find a cure.
Why don't the Krogan try to find a cure?
When was the last time you saw a Krogan scientist? You ask a Krogan, would he rather find a cure for the genophage or fight for credits? He'll choose fighting every time. It's just who we are, Shepard. I can't change that. Nobody can.
Are your people really dying?
We're sure not getting any stronger. We're too spread out. None of us are interested in staying in our own system.
Lots of species have left their homes and prospered.
But they go to colonize new worlds. We're not settlers. We're warriors. We want to fight. So we leave. Hire ourselves out. And most of us never go back.
The Krogan are basically Mandalorians, but way more interesting.
Shepard.
Commander?
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Kinda wish you'd got there sooner, Commander.
Well, fuck you.
I appreciate the rescue. I just wish...
You wish we'd been able to save the rest of your unit?
Yes, sir. If I had been more alert, we wouldn't have been cut down by an ambush.
The Geth are perfect ambushers. They don't move, they don't make noise, they don't even breathe.
Sir, they have flashlight heads.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen again.
I think it's actually mentioned at one point in Mass Effect 2 that they can turn those off. Like the light on their face.
Do you have a few minutes to talk one-on-one?
I'm sorry, Commander. I need to get my duty squared away. I wouldn't mind talking more later, though.
For some reason, neither Caden nor Ashley have anything to say after the first mission. I think everybody else does, but not them. Now, Oscaris immediately proved me wrong.
Thanks for bringing me on board, Commander. I knew working with a Spectre would be better than life at CSEC.
Have you worked with a Spectre before?
Well, no, but I know what they're like. Spectres make their own rules. You're free to handle things your way. At CSEC, you're buried by rules. The damn bureaucrats are always on your back.
Being a Spectre does have its advantages.
Exactly my point. If I'm trying to take down a suspect, it shouldn't matter how I do it, as long as I do it.
But CSEC wants it done their way. Protocol and procedure come first. That's why I left.
So you just quit because you didn't like the way they do things?
There's more to it than that. It didn't start out bad, but as I rose in ranks, I got saddled with more and more red tape. CSEC's handling of safety. I just couldn't take it anymore. I hate leaving.
I hope you made the right choice. I'd hate for you to regret it later.
Well, that's sort of why I teamed up with you. It's a chance for me to get off the Citadel, see how things are done outside CSEC. Either way, I plan to make the most of this.
And without CSEC headquarters looking over my shoulder, well, maybe I can get the job done my way for a change.
As long as you do your job well, you're free to go about your business as you see fit.
Thank you, Commander.
Here it is, the infamous Mako. Mako? I'm just gonna assume it's the freaky fish guy. This thing is pretty much universally hated. And I honestly don't know why. I never really had a problem with it. Okay, here he is, the Alliance Requisition Officer. This is the on-ship merchant.
Hey, Commander. Looking for some extra supplies before you head out?
What have you got?
Whatever you want. Armor, weapons, mods. It's not standard Alliance issue, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, as long as you don't mind paying for it.
Why should I pay you for my weapons and armor?
My stuff doesn't come from the Alliance. I have to purchase it myself, and it's not cheap. Hell, the licenses alone have set me back more than I'd like. But no licenses, no goods. Without the goods, I'm out of a job.
Let's see what you've got.
You bet, Commander.
As you can see, because we bought those licenses, we now have access to basically everything plus some from any of the merchants that we bought a license from. Some of these are really, really good. A lot of it isn't. This is really, really good. Now we have one more person to talk to. Probably talk to Joker, but maybe later. That's that is an Element Zero core, or EZO. Element Zero is EZO, not the core. We'll be talking a lot more about that later.
Your ship's amazing, Shepard. I've never seen a drive core like this before. I can't believe you were able to fit it into a ship this small. I'm starting to understand why you humans have been so successful. I had no idea Alliance vessels were so advanced.
The Normandy's a prototype. Cutting-edge technology.
A month ago, I was patching a makeshift fuel line into a converted tug ship in the flotilla. Now, I'm sitting on board one of the most advanced vessels in Citadel space. I have to thank you again for bringing me along. Traveling on a vessel like this is a dream come true for me.
I had no idea you found ship technology so interesting.
It comes with being a Quarian. The migrant fleet is the key to the survival of my people. Ships are our most valuable resource. But we don't have anything like this. We make do with cast-offs and second-hand equipment. We just try to keep them running for as long as we can. Some of the fleet's larger vessels date all the way back to our original flight from the Geth.
I can't believe your fleet's still using ships that are 3 centuries old.
They're constantly being repaired, modified, and refitted. They aren't pretty, but they work. Mostly. We've tried to make ourselves as independent as possible on the flotilla. Grow our own food, mine, and process our own fuel. But some things we just can't make on our own. A patch to maintain the hull integrity requires raw materials we just don't have. That's why our pilgrimages are so important.
Tell me about your people.
Our lives aren't easy. Resources are scarce, and we are constantly on the move. Everything we do must in some way contribute to the continuation of the migrant fleet. There are 17 million Quarians in the flotilla, and each of us relies on the others for survival. The bonds among my people are strong. Unfortunately, we have had to surrender many of the freedoms and civil liberties other species take for granted.
A couple things. Number one, I kind of forgot to mention it. The reason that the Normandy is so advanced is that it's actually a joint project. Human and Turian. And two, something that Tala just mentioned about how there are 17 million Quarians on the migrant fleet. Remember, that's nearly the entire species. There's a reason that you don't see too many Quarians around.
What kind of freedoms?
Well, it's illegal for parents to have more than one child. If our population grows too much, it would strain our resources to their breaking point. Of course, we also can't allow our numbers to become too few. If our population is in decline, the rule against single births is temporarily repealed. In extreme cases of population decline, incentives are even offered to encourage multiple births, though the Conclave hasn't had to take such measures in nearly a century.
That's your government.
The Conclave is our civilian branch of government. Each ship can elect a representative to serve on the Conclave and make decisions that affect the fleet as a whole. On matters that affect an individual ship, however, the captain has the final say. It's a tradition that dates back to the early days, when the fleet was governed by martial law. Fortunately, most captains nowadays are smart enough to have an elected council from their crew to give them advice and guidance.
So the ultimate power rests with elected officials.
In practice, the Conclave and the respective council for each ship tend to set the rules that govern our daily lives. But in theory, we are still under military jurisdiction. The 5 top-ranking military officials in the fleet serve on the Admiralty Board. These 5 have the power to overrule any decision by the Conclave in case of emergency. To do so requires unanimous agreement among the Admiralty, and they can only do this once. After that, the entire board must resign their posts. It's a safeguard that served us well. In nearly 3 centuries, the Admiralty Board has only overruled the Conclave 4 times.
I want to know more about the Geth.
I doubt I can tell you anything you don't already know. It's been almost 3 centuries since they drove my people into exile. All I know is the story of their origins, what they were when we created them, and how they turned on us.
Interesting.
The Geth were originally created to serve as an automated manual labor force. Initially, their intelligence was as limited as any VI. Over time, we made small modifications to their programming to allow them to perform more varied and complex tasks, bringing them closer and closer to true AI status.
How come the Council didn't step in and stop you?
This wasn't true AI research. We may have been skirting the bounds of the law, but we never did anything that was actually illegal. The changes were so insignificant, so gradual, that we were able to control them. Or so we thought. But one thing we underestimated was the power of the neural network. A million Geth thinking simultaneously created an inherently unstable matrix.
So, the Geth share brain power?
Many of the Geth's logic systems were designed to work in concert with other nearby Geth. Basically, the more of them you have in the group, the smarter they are.
So there's some sort of group consciousness?
No, nothing like that. They cannot share sensory data or information. Their programming cannot handle that much simultaneous input. Each Geth maintains an individual awareness and identity. The neural network only operates on a process-based level. It's basically the synthetic equivalent of a subconscious. But when they're in close proximity, they can coordinate low-level functional processes, freeing up more capacity for original or independent thought.
Basically think of the Geth as being like, sort of like Alien X from Ben 10. Inside every Geth unit is actually like many Geth minds that deliberate. Usually. There are some that are more like the Geth agents that work on a more individual level, and they're weird and hard to explain.
What made them rebel?
As we built more and more Geth, their effective intelligence became more sophisticated, more abstract. One day, a Geth began to ask its Quarian overseer questions about the nature of its existence. Am I alive? Why am I here? What is my purpose? As you can imagine, this caused a near panic among my people.
I don't see what's so bad about those questions.
The Geth were created to engage in mundane, repetitive, or dangerous manual labor. That's fine for machines, but it won't satisfy a sentient being for long. The Geth were showing signs of rudimentary self-awareness and independent thought. If the Geth were intelligent, then we were essentially using them as slaves. It was inevitable the newly sentient Geth would rebel against their situation. We knew they would rise up against us, so we acted first. A general order went out across all Quarian-controlled systems to permanently deactivate all Geth. The Geth responded to this order violently.
You can't blame them for fighting for their survival.
We had no other choice. The Geth were already on the verge of revolution. By acting quickly, we had a chance to end the war before it began. The hope was that most of the Geth would still be little more than machines, incapable of organized resistance. But they had progressed much further than anyone anticipated. The war was long and bloody. Millions upon millions of Quarians died at their hands. In the end, we were forced to flee our own homeworld. We feared the Geth would pursue us, but they never came beyond the Veil. Now we drift through space, exile searching for a way to reclaim what was once ours.
It's hard to feel sorry for you. Your ancestors tried to wipe out another species.
We made a mistake when we created the Geth in the first place, but we did not make a mistake when we went to war against them. If we had not acted, they would have wiped us out. They're a synthetic life form. They have no use for organics. None. Why do you think they cut themselves off from the rest of the galaxy? Why do you think they've killed every organic being who's ever tried to contact them?
They didn't kill Saren.
What does that tell you? The Geth are not innocent victims in all this. They're the enemy. They want to destroy us. Not just the Quarians. All organic life. That's why they've joined up with Saren. And that's why we have to stop him.
Okay, quick thing there. Take note of what exactly Tom said. God damn it. Take note note of what exactly Tali said. Note that she always spoke in absolutes and defended the actions of her ancestors without really considering the Geth in it. It is actually proven later on that the Geth had no interest in rebellion. They were essentially a newborn race. They were confused. They didn't know what was going on. The Quarian reaction was met with violence because, well, if someone tries to bludgeon you in the head with a rock, chances are you're going to attempt to stop them. And this was on a planetary level. The reason the Geth haven't left beyond the Veil is because, well, as far as they know, every organic that they've come into contact with has attempted to kill them. So they're essentially in like a multi-century debate with themselves about what to do next. After all, they're not organic, so they have no need to eat, sleep, pee, etc.
Want to know more about the pilgrimage?
When my people reach maturity, we leave our birth ships and seek acceptance with a new crew. It's necessary to maintain genetic diversity among the fleet. But no ship wants to accept someone who will be a burden on them. So, to prove our worth, we embark on a pilgrimage. We set out alone, leaving the flotilla and our families behind us. We only return once we have found something of value we can bring back to the fleet. This is presented as a gift to the captain of the respective ship we wish to join. If the gift is accepted, we are welcomed into the crew.
Can a captain choose to reject the gift?
That doesn't happen often. Most captains are eager to increase the size of their crew. It increases their own standing in our society. Even when a gift is not particularly valuable, the captain usually accepts it out of a sense of tradition. However, there is a stigma to presenting a substandard gift. It's not the best way to make a good impression on a new community. Most pilgrims don't return until they find something worthwhile.
I can't believe they just send you off alone.
It's not like they just cast us out. Before we leave, we are given lessons in how to survive outside the flotilla, and given gifts to help us on our journey. We also receive implants to fight off sickness and disease. Generations of living in an isolated and highly controlled environment have left our immune systems weaker than most. By the time we leave the fleet, we are well equipped for the pilgrimage. This is a rite of passage for all Quarians. If it were dangerous, our numbers would suffer. Virtually every pilgrimage ends with a triumphant return and the ritual presentation of the gift to one of the fleet's captains.
Yeah, what she said about the sickness thing, that's actually why Tali is still in her armor. Because she kind of undersold how bad a Quarian immune system is. They basically don't have one.
I want to talk about something.
Like what? See you later.
Like, anything that, pretty much anything that affects a Quarian immune system will overwhelm it. In fact, a bit of a spoiler, but in the future, Garrus will literally kill a Quarian by coughing on them. Like, outright. I'll see you in a moment. I slightly oversold the Garrus killing a Quarian with a cough thing. He did kill them with a cough, but it's the kind of thing where you get like a really bad infection, so it's not like he coughed on him and then the guy just dropped over dead. Well, I mean, it's Garrus, so you never know. Now, we're actually gonna stop here because it is sweltering in here, I'm hungry, and very dehydrated. So I hope to see you again next time. Adios!